Hello and welcome to In the Paint with Cameron and Jordan. I am Cameron Sadeghi along with Jordan Hunter. I can't believe I'm 0-1 in fantasy basketball, but Jordan, what record are you?
I'm 0-1 too.
Oh my god, I'm trying to make crazy trades. I got Ennis Cantor, Damian Lillard, and all that. Well, we'll talk about that later on in the show, but first thing we want to talk about here is the Timberwolves Thunder game. Oh no, Timberwolves and Dallas game. What am I saying? 116-108. Minnesota coming up big, especially Kevin Love and Kevin Martin. Do you think this Timberwolves team could maybe shock a team in the first round of the playoffs?
Yeah, I definitely think so. Kevin Martin, Kevin Love, that's a match made in heaven. Like, who would have thought those two could both get 32? Rubio, you gotta say Rubio, he's not playing too well. He could play better. And Pekovic could get to average a double-double. I think they'll be really good.
Yeah, I agree, and I think Pekovic is absolutely great. He's very talented, and I think this team with Rick Adelman, they do a really solid job. So I think this team is going to be great. They got Corey Brewer, who's an exceptional talent, especially on the defensive end. And I think this team could maybe be a 5th or 6th seed. The way they're playing right now.
5th or 6th, so you're putting them in that category with, like, San Antonio and OKC.
You think San Antonio and OKC are going to go 4th, 5th, 6th?
I mean, and I see, now I'm starting to see what people are saying, San Antonio and OKC as the number 1 and number 2 seed, because they're just good. They go unnoticed, but they're winning all these games. Each team has only lost once. So I think they'll go 1 and 2, and I think Golden State will go 3, Clippers will go 4, and Houston will go 5. Minnesota getting the 6th, and 7th and 8th being a dogfight between teams like the Pelicans, maybe the Mavericks.
Okay, who's better right now, Timberwolves or Mavericks?
Oh, Timberwolves.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think the Timberwolves, I think it'll all come down to matchups. If the Timberwolves face the San Antonio Spurs in the first round, I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota wins.
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't say Minnesota would win, but I wouldn't be surprised
if it goes 7 games.
7, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because Kevin Love can erupt for 30 and 15 anytime he wants. Now, I think the key component, because we know Kevin Martin can score in bunches, we know Love can score, we know Pekovic is a monster in the boards. I think Rubio is going to be the key to their success. He has to be able to hit the easy layups. He has to be able to hit the open threes. He has to be able. He's going to still make great plays and make assists, but his offense is going to have to develop for them to go far.
Do you think defensively he'll get exposed, maybe in the playoffs?
Yeah, because the West is filled with great point guards, great quick point guards who make decisive moves. Tony Parker, Chris Paul, Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook. Those are all guys. Oh, and James Harden, who plays the point guard a lot in Houston. Those are all guys who can expose the defense. So I think he'll get exposed, but I think you got Pekovic in there in the middle, and he can scare off the point guards maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's pretty fair to say that for the Timberwolves. I think their future looks very bright in Minnesota. The only thing that stands in their way to making the playoffs is health. What about your favorite team, your finals prediction, the Brooklyn Nets, coming short to the Bradley Beal and Al Harrington show in Washington? In overtime, Wizards win.
No, Al Harrington. I think their big three is John Wall, Bradley Beal, and Nene.
Yeah, that's true. Do you see that nasty block Nene had on Garnett?
Yeah, that was...
Nene, you always call Nene the broken down Nene, but he looked like a man revived last night.
Yeah, Washington, they're another team. They lost some games. They won some big games. Do you still think Washington can make the playoffs, even though they're 2-3 right now? What do you think? How do you think they'll do going on into the season?
The East is so tough. I think they really need Bradley Beal to fill it up, in my opinion, throughout the rest of the year. And John Wall, if they're not even if John Wall or Bradley Beal, even if they miss 15 games each or just maybe 15 games for one of the guys, they're not going to make the playoffs. They need 100% health if they're going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know about Washington, though, but are you surprised at Brooklyn's inability to win games against these
down
type
the
of
stretch,
teams?
yeah. Opening night against Cleveland, they couldn't win it down the stretch. Again, we just saw last night against Washington, couldn't win it down the stretch. They've lost all their road games. They haven't won a road game, which is surprising. And you can't expect to make it far in the playoffs if you can't win a road game.
Do you you know who? And I saw this with Brooklyn, especially against Cleveland the first night. They kind of remind me of the 2011 Miami Heat, the team that got all the way to the NBA Finals and lost. I don't think they really have the chemistry right, and I just don't think it's going to work out the first year. And I'm really surprised at how frustrated Paul Pierce and Garnett are getting. I don't know if maybe they're so desperate, but I remember Andre Blatch, a travel. Usually Paul Pierce and Garnett, their body language is, okay, we're going to recover, we're going to be resilient. But they almost seem desperate, and they were starting to yell and scream at Blatch for really just a simple bad play. I don't know why they're so out of it. Just Brooklyn, and they almost revert back to their old ways.
I think it's because, though, they had such high expectations, made such bold comments in the offseason that they know they got to back up their talk. And we know they beat the Heat in Brooklyn. Tonight, against the Pacers, that is going to be their test. If they can beat the Pacers, tonight in Brooklyn, I think it'll, I don't know if it'll shock the world, but I think it'll be a statement to that they may have lost some games they should have won. Like getting blown out by Orlando. That was just ugly. And then losing to Washington in overtime. If they can beat the Pacers, an undefeated team, a team who has championship expectations, and I think people will start to back up off of them and kind of say, let them do them. We'll see what happens in April.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, but I don't think they can beat Indiana tonight. I really don't think so. Did you see Luis Scola putting on a show against Chicago? My guy, my fantasy guy.
Scola.
Hello, are you there, Jordan?
Cameron?
Yeah. Go ahead. There's some technical difficulties, but what were you going to say?
Luis Scola? That's who you're putting your bank on? Luis Scola?
No, I'm saying Luis Scola plus the great bench of Indiana. I really think, even though Lance Stevenson, he's doing a great job. George Hill's doing a pretty solid job. C.J. Watson's even doing a good job. I don't know why, Brooklyn, I really don't think they can come out with the victory because I don't think that their bench is as good as Brooklyn's bench.
So, since we're talking about the Pacers, how good are the Pacers? How far would they go? Is this just a phase at the 6-0? What do you think they can keep up this kind of play throughout the season?
I think they can. They've never been a great regular season team. Like when Miami went on that huge winning streak, that 20-plus game winning streak. They're not like that, but they're gonna cruise their way to the playoffs. As long as they get one of the top 3 spots, they'll be satisfied.
So last night they did play the Toronto Raptors, beating them by 7, 91-84. Toronto, they're also a team of question marks. They have the talent to make it to the playoffs. They have the talent to maybe shock a team, take a number 1 or 2 seed to 6 or 7 games. But I don't know if they're a legit team. Like Rudy Gay puts up a lot of points. He's on my fantasy. DeRozan's on my fantasy. DeRozan is disappointing right now.
I don't like the I was really a Toronto guy before the season, and you heard me saying it 1,000 times. Come on, Toronto, let's go. I don't see it. I really think that Lowry, I know he had 8 assists last night, but I don't think that they really execute well, and I don't
Yeah.
think they run. They need to go through Jonas Valanciunas, I think, a little bit more.
Yeah, I
I,
agree with you.
I think Jonas Valanciunas also can be a little bit of a liability on defense too, and I think that kind of hurts Toronto. I think Valanciunas makes or breaks this team, and I don't know this young if he can carry the load this much to propel them to the playoffs. I just don't see that happening in Toronto.
Jonas Valanciunas only had 6 field goal attempts, which is not a lot for Dwayne Casey was saying he's going to be the key to the offense. You're going to have to get him more touches. Rudy Gay had a great night, 12 for 26, 30 points. DeMar DeRozan, 2 for 15 for 6 points. Now,
He's a gunner sometimes.
Yeah, we know Masai Ujiri. He likes to make trades to build up a team like he did in Denver. Make trades, small trades to, kind of make a team better, not have a superstar. Do you think he will make a trade down the stretch, like to get maybe I could see him getting maybe a Ryan Anderson trade to get a stretch forward, someone who can spread the floor. Because right now they don't have a prolific three-point shooter. They don't have someone who can fill it up from beyond the arc. So what do you see them doing to get better? Because at this point, I don't think they can make the playoffs with how they're playing right now.
I think they kind of need to make a big trade. I would go for a J.R. Smith type guy. I don't know. I know why. I always bring up J.R. Smith when it comes to trades, but you think they can really... Okay, if they give up DeRozan and maybe a first-round pick, I think they could go get J.R. Smith.
Well, some would think DeRozan is better than J.R. Smith, so...
What do you think? Do you think the Knicks believe that?
No, but you throw in a first-round pick, they're going to want something more. They're going to want J.R. Smith and Amari Stoudemire for that.
You think they could get J.R.? Okay, if you gave up DeRozan and a first-round pick for J.R. and Amari, would that be a positive trade for Toronto?
Well, J.R. Smith and DeRozan are kind of the same type of player.
No, I don't think so. I think J.R. Smith is a way better scorer and just offensive playmaker than DeRozan. I think DeRozan in the half court, especially late in the shot clock, I don't think he can create for you as much as J.R. Smith can.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think... DeRozan, I like him a lot, but you can really shut him down. Like, J.R. Smith is one of those guys that you can double him, you can do all these different things, but he's still going to get off a clean look.
True.
That's just what I see. I mean, and I think JR is not that bad of a defender. He's not that bad. I mean, DeRozan's obviously a better defender, but it would just be better, in my opinion, if they can get more offensive production in Toronto.
Yeah, that's true. Their offense is lacking a little bit. So we know. So let's move over back. Let's stay in the East Coast. Andrew Bynum said he considered retirement because he's a shell of his former self, and he still is. What do you take from Bynum's words? Do you think he's just talking? Do you think he's serious about it?
I think he's serious. I think anybody who's considering retirement, if you're that out of it from the mental aspect of the game, how are you going to be able to physically perform? I think Bynum... Look, I know I've been the biggest critic of him, sometimes too harsh, but I have to say, I think injuries unfortunately caught up, and I hate saying this because I've never met him, but from a bird's eye view, he comes across as semi-arrogant in the way he approaches himself on the floor, and I don't think franchises appreciate that attitude every single day in and day out. I really think that's going to hurt him, and I just think he's going to retire very soon.
So, we know he's on a minutes restriction right now, not getting over 15 minutes, but if he's able to get off of that minute restriction and provide at a level we know he can provide at, because, last night Andrew Bynum only played 18 minutes, 4 points and 5 rebounds. I don't know when he'll be able to play that 30 minutes, 35 minutes. We know he can, but if he does, do you think he'll be able to come back and to be that 2011, 2012 type of player we saw when he made the All-Star team as the second best center in the league?
I don't know, because I think he has the skills to do it. I just don't know if that will become a reality. Because if you are going to admit or consider retirement, that means you're somewhat mentally out of the game, in my opinion. Like, if you're going to put up those numbers, you have to be all in. And I don't think from a mental perspective, Andrew Bynum is all in, because when you consider retirement, you're on your way out.
Yeah, I agree with you. When you're already, and he's not even that old.
Yeah, that too.
He was drafted in like 06. He's not like, oh, he's broken down. We know that. Like, if I understand if you're hearing something from like Amari Stoudemire, who's had injury after injury after injury, who hasn't produced like at all. So yeah, it's sad to see a big guy like that go down after, he was on my precious Lakers, and he produced so much for us. So it's sad to see someone like him lose his self-confidence and is already considering retirement. Speaking of the Lakers, Cameron,
yeah,
big win. 2 big wins so far against the Clippers and against the Rockets. We all know what happened. Steve Blake, game-winning 3 in Dwight Howard's eye. So, the Rockets, they've lost to the Lakers. They've lost to the Clippers. Like, what is up with them? Harden's been scoring out of his mind, but they've been losing. Dwight Howard's playing great, but they've been losing. For them to lose to a team like the Lakers at home, what does that say about this Kevin McHale-led Rockets team?
You know what? I know a lot of people have been criticizing Dwight Howard, especially Mr. Big Bo, Big Butt, Shaquille O'Neal, but it's unfair to criticize Howard or Harden. Personally, I don't think they're getting everything out of Howard, in the sense that he's not put in the right position to succeed at times. Because I told you this before, and you said it's not going to be that big of a deal, but I think it's going to be the reason why, and it may stand in their way from becoming a championship-type team. That point guard issue. I really don't think... as much as I like Jeremy Lin, I don't think he's a good point guard, in the sense that he won't lead Howard to, putting it in the right place at the right time for Howard, lobbing it to him at the right time. I don't think Lin can really control the tempo of the game. He kind of just has one speed. Beverly's not really a playmaker. Beverly's an okay defender. Lin's a mediocre defender. I don't like the Rockets' point guard situation, and deep down inside, it's going to hurt them.
Wait, so you don't think Beverly and Lin, you don't think they complement each other? Well, Lin is more of an offensive player. Beverly is more of a defensive player. I think that's what. Yeah, Beverly got 34 minutes in their loss. Lin got 31. So they were both able to get a lot of minutes. You didn't think that they were able to, you'll be in for defense, I'll be in for offense, because it showed. Lin had 16 points. Beverly had 3, but Beverly is a ball hounder. He'll hound the ball. That's kind of what it is for OKC. You bring in Reggie Jackson for that defense, and you put Russell Westbrook in for the offense.
No, I think that's different though. You look at Russell Westbrook and Reggie Jackson. I think Reggie Jackson's a pretty good offensive player. He doesn't get credit for how good of an offensive player he is. I think he's a balanced point guard. Russell Westbrook is a two-way player. Lin is a one-way player, but he can go wild though on offense. He could have the most. Okay, come on. The turnovers are pretty high. Wouldn't you admit? I mean, he doesn't know how to control the tempo of the game. That's the biggest impediment in his game. If he could control the tempo of the game, he would have been one of the highest picks in the draft. He would have been. There's a reason why he was an unknown player. It's because of that. Beverly, I like the way he plays defense, but he's not going to shock you with offensive ability. They need not an all-star point guard. They need a J.J. Barea. They need that type of point guard to get to the finals someday. They need it badly.
You don't think Harden can take over and just control the ball? That's what they've been doing. They've been putting Harden and having him play as just control the ball and just have the ball in his hands most of the time.
Yeah, but he doesn't get other guys involved because he has to get his own points too. That's too much for him to facilitate and score because he's got to be a scoring threat, but then he's also got to get his teammates involved. But he's got to do an extreme amount of scoring. It's not like a little amount. He's got to do an extreme amount. So they really need a J.J. Barea type point guard. Even, you know what they should do at the trade deadline? You know what? Give up Lynn for Calderon.
Yes, I was literally just about to say that exact thing. Lynn for Calderon.
I guarantee you, Lynn for Calderon would shake up the West. It really would.
Oh, no.
Yes, it would.
It wouldn't shake up the West. I think it just... the whole West, first of all, Dallas is a team who may not even make the playoffs.
No. It would shake it up. When I say that, I mean the Rockets would then be a championship contender.
Just by adding Calderon?
Yeah, because let's remember this about Calderon. He's a three-point maestro. I mean,
yes, he is.
And he can have those crazy, 6-for-6 nights. Mm-hmm. He can score inside. He's a great passer. He understands, guys shooting pockets, where to give them the ball. Mm-hmm. Good defensive player. I think he could make them a championship contender.
But I think Dallas would definitely want a little more than just Lynn.
Okay, what would you give up? If you're the Rockets and you want to get Calderon, what do you think Dallas would want?
I'd say Lynn in a first-round pick.
Do you think... Yeah, I would agree. I think that's fair. Lynn in a first-round pick for Calderon.
Because Calderon is very underrated.
Yeah.
Now, most people didn't know that he had the highest three-point percentage last year.
Exactly.
But he did. And he could average about 7 assists a game, 12, 13 points. He's very good. So let's stay on the topic of Dallas. Monte Ellis playing some of the best ball of his career since the Warriors. What do you think this spark? Where do you think the spark is coming from for Monte Ellis? Is it just playing with Dirk? Just playing with the Mavericks in general?
I think it's playing with Dirk. He finally has less pressure on him trying to score every single possession. I mean, in Milwaukee, Jennings and Ellis were just gunning from the perimeter. In the playoffs, their shooting percentages were 10%, it felt like. I mean, I think Ellis, too, is starting to go inside and just settle less for jump shots, eat up the space and absorb contact and try to get to the free throw line. And, I think Ellis is starting to become a better passer and a better defender. Just over time, he's improving his game. I got to credit Monte Ellis. He's really working hard at his craft, and he's doing a really good job. Monte Ellis, he's one of the more underrated players in this league that doesn't get enough credit, and he should get a lot of credit for what's going on in Dallas.
Yeah, I definitely 100% agree with you. He should get a lot of the credit. Dirk is going to do what Dirk does, but Monte Ellis, he's their main scorer. I think he's a guy who can score in bunches, he can get in the most points. So I think Monte Ellis was a great pickup. I think he's probably one of the steals in the offseason, talking about pickups. So, Cameron, we know you were a big advocate of the Phoenix Suns last week. What is your take on the Suns this week? They're still good they're getting a 4-2, tied for first in the Pacific. Now, I don't really know what to think about the Suns.
I think personally, PJ Tucker and company. No, I'm kidding. Again, I don't see this team again having a ton of success. I think I was just joking around in the beginning, but PJ Tucker had a crazy first week, hitting a bunch of threes. I don't know where that came from, But the Suns, I think they need a tank. I really think they need to try to tank for Wiggins.
Oh, what's up with all this tanking talk?
Did you? Yeah. Okay. You know what? Let's talk about that real quick. What do you think about tanking? Because some people say you need to respect the dignity of the game. You need to play competitively. What do you think about tanking in general?
I hate it. I don't like it at all. I think if you try your best, but you still don't get any success, like you say you try your hardest, you try to get wins, you try to play your heart out, but you still get like a 25 and like a 25 and a 57, then you know you're gonna get the number one pick. You worked for it. And tanking is just like, oh yeah, let's lose all these games and get the number one pick. But it's about the entertainment. You're not entertaining the fans. You're not entertaining the people who want to watch basketball if you're losing the games.
Yeah, but fans won't. Here's the reality, though. I totally agree with you, but I kind of understand owners and the business side of the NBA in this way. Isn't it okay? Look, us, like, as fans of the game, like, when we see someone play hard, like, we respect that. But the general average person going to these games, if you don't have a good record, they're not going to show up no matter how hard you play. Let's be honest. They won't show up. Let's look at a team like Atlanta. Okay, they play hard every night. They're not winning games, but nobody shows up. Look, maybe both of us would show up because we like seeing guys play hard. But most fans don't respect that. They just care about wins. Wins, wins, wins. And if they don't see that, then, they're not going to generate revenue. You know what I mean? Like, because if no fans are going to show up anyways, no matter how hard we play, so why waste our time? So I think tanking is a bad thing, but I totally understand why owners and teams would do that.
So you think like the Bobcats said they wouldn't tank? We know the Bobcats aren't going anywhere, but they're getting better. They're not going to tank. They're going to try to probably get someone next year. When they get Al Jefferson back, that'll help. So what team do you think would potentially try to tank this year to try to get a Wiggins or Jabari Parker or Marcus Smart?
I think it would really look good for Atlanta.
Oh, gosh. Atlanta has too much. Atlanta actually has some talent, though.
No, I don't. Utah. I mean, Utah's 0-6 right now. I mean, they got the potential to tank right now. I mean, it's not very hard when you're 0-6. But I think a team like Utah probably would best fit for that. I'm just thinking about all these teams. It's so early. Well, who do you see?
Yeah, I see Utah, but I think Utah, I don't think Derek Favors or Hayward or Enes Kanter would want to tank because they're all young. Derek Favors and Kanter just got starting jobs after being behind Al Jefferson and Millsap. So,
I know. I just thought of the team right now. You would probably agree with this. We were talking about Gerald Wallace saying guys are trying to fight for their numbers. Is it the Celtics? It
actually might be the Celtics.
With Favarani and my boy Favarani, he gets big boards, dude. He gets big.
Cameron, come on. Dude, that was a phase. That was a 3-game phase.
I might have to trade him on my fantasy team. Will you pick him up for me?
No way.
Give me anyone for Favarani.
I'll give you Joe Johnson.
You will for Favarani? No, okay.
But for all those fantasy players, don't pick up Joe Johnson. He's only had one good game for me. Joe Johnson and Kevin Garnett. Those are my two players that have not played well. Garnett had 5 points. Don't get DeMar DeRozan either. He had -1 points for me last night. -1.
Okay, guys, anyone who is playing fantasy, don't ever have my team for the exception of LeBron. Okay, that's how bad my team is right now. I actually have it on my phone looking at it. I'm losing 363 to 342 against the Steel City Stars.
That's not that bad.
I got Kirilenko tonight. I got Pierce, Kirilenko, Scola, Zach Randolph, Cantor, LeBron, and Damian Lillard playing for me tonight. I hope I get a lot of numbers from those guys.
Cameron, you only have 300 points?
I have 342.
I have 594.
It's 363 to 342.
How do you not have at least 400 points? I have almost 600.
But you had Iguodala go off for like 50 points against Philadelphia early in the week.
Okay, yeah, that is true. Before we talk about fantasy, I just want to get to one point.
Okay.
Russell Westbrook came back early this week.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, that was so good, fun to see him watch. I think he's a little out of control, though. I watched some of his game against Detroit. He looked a little out of control, but I think give him a couple of weeks to get back to how he plays, and I think he'll be good. Do you think OKC? How far do you see OKC going?
Man, I can see Western Conference Finals all over again.
Really?
Yeah, I mean they got the shot. I don't know about the Clippers. I remember when I made my finals prediction. I'm a little worried for the Clippers. You know what? Right now, I don't know if I can make any predictions because it is so tight everywhere. You go to the East, Indiana, Miami, Chicago, even Brooklyn, they're in the mix. There are so many teams that can get to the Eastern and Western Conference Finals right now. I just don't know who.
So where's your worry for the Clippers? What's the source of that worry for them?
I really don't think they trust Doc Rivers. Deep down inside, I think Doc Rivers pushes them hard and they don't respond well because they're not an old veteran team. Doc Rivers draws up some great plays, but they go back to their old pick and roll habits where Chris Paul sometimes over dribbles. As great as Chris Paul is, he over dribbles and tries to make something out of nothing. Blake Griffin is off balance and takes bad shots. JJ Redick has been consistent, but other than that, I just don't know what's going on in Clipperland.
Yeah, so you don't see them. Do you see them going past them? Do you see them making it to the Western Conference Finals against OKC? I mean, the West has about 5 teams you could see make it to the Western Conference Finals: San Antonio, Oklahoma City, Los Angeles Clippers, Golden State Warriors, and even the Houston Rockets.
I agree. So is there anything else, or you want to talk about fantasy for 2 minutes?
Nothing else for me. Does anyone want Avery Bradley? Avery Bradley's not playing very well for me.
Yeah, I mean, Gerald Henderson erupted for like 20 points a few nights ago.
Oh, gosh.
And then, Drummond, what did you do last night? Only getting 8 points from me? I need more from you, Drummond. Andre Miller, come on, show your old guard mentality and post up little dudes. You only got like 6 points from me last night.
Don't even play Andre Miller.
I don't have anybody else. I'm trying to trade Kobe right now because
I'll trade for Kobe.
Okay, who will you give me?
I'll give you Xavier Henry.
No.
Okay, I'll give you Joe Johnson.
You really would.
What do you want, Joe Johnson or Garnett? I'll give you Garnett.
No, you got to give me somebody better for. Okay.
You don't want Garnett?
Give me Iguodala for Kobe straight up.
No.
Who else?
I said Joe Johnson. I'll go with Joe Johnson.
No, you have better players than that. You can give me a better guy. DeRozan? Who else? Okay, who's your point guard?
Chris Paul.
Okay, yeah, sure, let's do it.
What? Chris Paul for Kobe?
Yeah. Oh my god. So is that gonna wrap it up? Do you want to shout out to anybody or anything?
No, I'm good.
I'll just shout out to San Juan Hills football team coming up big against Dana Hills, 28-21, league champs for the first time, Seaview League. So good job, Stallions. Good job, football. Good job, everybody over there. Thank you. In the Paint with Cameron and Jordan. We'll see you next time. Have fun with fantasy. Enjoy the games tonight. There are a zillion games that you can find on NBA TV. Always on Friday nights, basically, with Vince Cellini talking his head off, along with some other analysts. I don't even know, like Baron Davis or whoever. But we'll see you next time, anyways. In the Paint. Bye.